What are the exam success skills in strategic business leader SBL? Today we are going to learn the 6 exam success skills for SBL. So these are the 6 exam success skills for SBL which you need to success in your SBL exam. Number 1, managing information. SBL is a subject, is a paper which is a 4-hour paper, and it has lots of information for you to manage, for you to handle. Skill 2, the correct interpretation of requirements. There will be so much of requirement to do that in 4 hours. Needs correct implementation, the correct interpretation. Third, answer planning. You need to plan your answer in advance before writing the actual answer. Number 4, efficient numerical analysis. Yes, this paper is also going to consider numbers. It's going to have numerical. You cannot expect that this paper is a theory paper and you will not get any numbers. You will get numbers. Not so much in detail, not so much in depth, but yes, you will have some numbers. You have to deal with it. Number 5, effective writing and presentation. SBL is not just about the knowledge you have. It also, the way you present it, the way you write matters a lot. So you have to have effective presentation, effective writing. You have to develop the skills. You have to know these techniques. And the last one, not the least, is good time management. Yes, good time management is very, very, very important. So let us go to the first one, managing information. Yes, SBL is a paper which has the most amount of information to handle. It's a case study of around 11 to 12 pages of information. So what it requires is you have to have a very swift understanding of the case overview and the exhibits. Yes, you'll be given around 5 to 6 exhibits in the exam, and the exhibits might be 1 page or 2 page, right? So you need to have a very swift understanding. Your understanding power, the way you pick up the information from your case study, have to be very quick. You cannot waste so much of time thinking what is the case study about. You cannot waste so much of time. The moment you start reading, you should be able to pick up some points. You should be able to understand, right? And that's why I recommend the students to keep practice your reading first. Before you even write your SBL answer, first what you have to do is improve your reading skill. That's the most important thing. Most of the people lack that skill. Because of that skill, when we read information, we just read for the sake of reading, right? But are we actually understanding what we have read? Because the amount you have read is not important, but what you have understood from that reading is the key to your success. That is the critical thing. Most of you overlook that thing, because what happens is when you master your reading skill, you can save on all the other things. You can save on your time management. You can plan on your answer better. You will get more time without wasting time. You see, because you will not get another chance to go over it and read that case study again, because that case study is very big, right? It's an integrated case study. All the exhibits relate to one industry only, one organization. So you have to have an understanding of all the exhibits, and you have to remember at least the key points. You have to remember from each exhibits, because what happens is the moment you read the first exhibit, okay, and when you go to the second, you'll be forgetting what's there in the first one, and when you go to the third, you will forget what's there in the second one. It's our nature, it's our human mind, right? That's a human nature. And because we are under the exam condition, we are stressed out, we will forget more. We cannot remember all this information. We will forget. We cannot remember 100% everything of what we have read. You will forget here and there, most of the things. So that's why I recommend read, read, read. You can take out any past paper, keep reading. Just practice only reading, don't write. See, writing, we are practiced to write, right? We have been writing all the papers. Throughout all our life, we have been writing, writing, writing. So we are mastered at that. If I tell you to write 11 to 12 pages of story, you will be able to do that fantastically. But that's not the thing. Writing, anyone can do. Reading is the key. You have to read. The faster you read, I'm not saying you have to be the fastest reader, but the faster you read, the better you are. Because I can tell you this from my experience, I'm a fast reader. Like I can read fast and I can pick up things fast. So that worked as an advantage for me during my exam. Because usually people take around 40 to 45 minutes or even an hour to understand a case study. I finished that case study like in 30 minutes. I finished the case study in 30 minutes and I started writing answers because I have already planned. While I was reading, I was planning, right? I have that plan in my mind. Like this is how I have to proceed. So that's called swift understanding of the case overview and exhibit. Next, that scenario to you, that case study to you is given for a purpose. Please use that case study. I'm telling you again, use that case study. Most of you don't use that case study. You try to guess answer. You try to come up with your own answer, something which is not matching with your case study. There is a purpose why the examiner has given you that 11, 12 pages of case study. Right? It's not for time pass. It's not for you to guess your own answers. It is there to help you to write your answer. So pick up. Let me tell you this. Okay, 90%, 90 to 95% of what you write in SBL exam is from your case study only. Directly from your case study you have to pick up. No guessing, no guesswork is there. Only 5% is your common sense, 5% the experience which you have, the knowledge which you have from your wider reading and all, you apply. But 90 to 95% is from that case study, the answers which you write. Because you'll be given the numbers. You have to take those numbers. You have to take the ratios. You have to take the calculations. Right? You have to analyze that industry. You have to analyze the competitive position. You have to analyze the business environment of that organization. All of those things. How will you analyze? Right? Just by learning theory will not help you. You have to refer. Please use that case study. Okay? Your answer is there in that case study. The only thing is you have to know how to write it. That's it. Third, at least the examiner have quoted that you are advised to spend minimum of 40 minutes. If you are reading, if you are taking less than 40 minutes, it's very good. Provided I'm not promoting fast reading. What I'm promoting is you have to be able to retain the information. You have to be able to understand the case study while you are reading fast. Because if most of the time what happens is, in order to save time, you're like blah 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 blah. You're reading very fast, but you're not able to understand. Right? When you come to the requirement, when you come to answer, you forget what you have written. So don't do that. If you can read fast and you can understand very quickly, very good. That's your key. You are having an advantage. You are having a competitive advantage over there. You see? And that reading will come with practice. You cannot have that in one day. You cannot develop that skill in one day. Because I am a person, I love reading. I read a lot actually. Not only on that subject, but otherwise also I read lots of books. So that's how I developed that skill from very childhood. So In any exam you give me, whether it's tax, whether it's SBR, SBL, AFM, any exam, I always finish my paper before the time. I always get time to check my paper. Why? Because I can read fast and I can understand also fast. I can interpret things very fast. Because I'm a fast reader. I read. I read so much you don't even have an idea. I read lots of books. So that's why you have to develop the skill, my dear. So read lots of information. You can read newspaper article, you can read from anywhere. It doesn't have to be your textbook. It doesn't have to be old SBL. It could be anywhere, but develop that skill. When you read, time yourself. Are you able to finish this paragraph? Are you able to finish this passage in the time allocated? Right? For example, SBL, just take any random past paper and start reading the case study. And see, are you able to finish in 40 minutes? Are you able to finish within that time? Or are you taking more time or less time? If you are taking less time, it's fine. But if you are taking more time, you have to do something so that you come to that time. Because what happens as SBL, I always tell this to all the students, the first 1 hour of SBL exam, okay, the first 1 hour of your SBL exam out of the 4 hours is known as golden hour. That 1 hour will decide whether you will fail or whether you will pass in SBL. I can guarantee you this. I don't care what you write in 3 hours. What determines whether you will pass or you will fail is in your first 1 hour, how you handle that first 1 hour. If you handle your first 1 hour properly, right, correctly, then no one can stop you from failing. I'm sorry, no one can stop you from passing. Yeah. Your planning is your key, the way you plan. Because SBL is not a subject where you just read and you just apply your knowledge and start writing. No, you have to plan. It's a different paper. I tell you, it's a different paper. Come out of that thing, that norm. Because other papers are different. If you compare, SBL is the only 4-hour paper in ACCA. So you have to plan. So minimum you have to spend 40 minutes. Some people takes more time, so it could go to 1 hour. It's fine. Maximum 1 hour. You have to read the case study and you have to plan the answer at the same time. So your reading and your planning has to be at the same time, simultaneously. Or you could even take some more time, like suppose you have finished reading in 40 minutes, the other 20 minutes you could plan your answer, right? So that has to be done in the first hour. Don't just take the SBL paper, go to the first requirement, start writing. How will you write? From where will you write? If you don't know what's there in the case study, you have to read, right? So I have broken down into 3 steps how you have to follow in the exam. Number 1, first, how you have to start when you get your paper, SBL paper. First, start reading the background to the case study. There will be a brief background to the case study, a kind of like introduction or a background to the case study. Okay, there they will be speaking about that company, how that company is, the background of that company and all. I'm not talking about the exhibits. You are not going to touch your exhibit. You are only reading your background or the introduction to the case study. That is the first thing you are going to do when you get your SBL, right? Second, what you have to do? Second, you have to read your requirements. Read all your requirements, right? And time yourself. All this reading the background, reading the requirement, reading the exhibit, all of this have to be done in that 1 hour. So you have to manage your time. You have to time yourself. How long you're taking to read the background, how long you're taking to read the requirement. I always used to do that in my exam. When I used to finish reading all the requirements, I used to keep a start time and a finish time. That within this time, I have to finish reading all the requirements. There are so many requirements, my dear. It will take A few minutes for you to finish that reading, just reading all the requirements. It will take you some time. Maybe around 10 to 15 minutes it will take you to finish reading all the requirements. Right? And last one, you have to start reading your exhibit. Read requirements first, not the exhibit. What happens is when you read your requirement is, now when you read the exhibit, you know what you are looking for because you have already read the requirements. So according to that requirement, when you're reading the exhibit, you can link, right? For this exhibit, for this requirement, this exhibit, for this requirement, this exhibit. Second time, you don't have to read again. That's what most people do, that mistake over here only. They go and start the exhibit, and then later they come and read the requirements. Again, they have to find from the exhibit which exhibit is for which requirement. Don't do that. Don't do that mistake. You're causing yourself time. You'll be wasting more time because again you have to go through the whole exhibits just to figure out which exhibit is for which requirement. So you also have to know how to link the requirement to the exhibit. I will be doing a paper, like I'll be uploading a video where I'll be going through an exam paper, the past paper, and then I will tell you how to link the requirement to the exhibit, which exhibit is for which requirement, and how do you know all those things. For now, just know that first you have to read the background, second you have to read the requirement, third you have to read the exhibit, and all this have to take place in 1 hour, not more than 1 hour. Don't exceed that 1 hour limit. If you can finish before 1 hour, very good, it's good. That means you're efficient. You have done your planning, you have practiced yourself several times, because it's not easy. It looks easy. I'm telling you, most of the people think, it's fine, I will read and I will do all those things, and then they don't practice on the reading part. They don't focus. What they focus is, they just go through the syllabus, they learn some models, and they try to apply it in the answer. That's it. It doesn't work that way, right? Now, the second skill, the correct interpretation of requirement. It's must, because what happens is, if you interpret your requirement incorrectly, then you will be totally going in some wrong path only, right? So what you have to do to do the correct interpretation? First, step one, you have to read the requirement. Yes, read the requirement. And when you read the requirement, here there's a piece of advice for you. Firstly, when you read the requirement for the first time, okay, read the requirement a couple of times slowly. Don't read fast. Okay, read it a couple of times slowly. Why? Read it slowly and carefully. And when you read the requirement, you have to highlight the active verbs. What are the active verbs? Active verbs are like verbs like explain, describe, discuss, identify, evaluate, analyze, do, critically discuss. All these are your active verbs. They will tell you what you have to do for a requirement. For example, I tell you, evaluate this proposal. Should I go for a product development or no? Evaluate the proposal. What do you have to do? What is that word evaluating telling you? Evaluating means I have to see the pros and the cons of it, and then I have to come up with my own recommendation, my own opinion. I have to justify based on my pros and cons, right? So evaluate means that. So you have to know, you have to highlight that active verb. What are they telling you to do? Are they telling you just identify? Are they telling you to discuss? Either are they telling you to evaluate? Because based on the active verbs, your marks proportionally will be, it's related to your active verbs, right? Words like discuss, words like, okay, I start with the lowest one, identify. It's just you are identifying, that will be having the lowest mark, right? Around 2 or 3 marks. But if it is critically discuss, the marks might go up to 8 marks or 10 marks. So you see the verbs play a big role. You have to interpret, you have to know which verb it is. You have to highlight that, right? Next, read the scenario. You're reading the exhibits. So as I told you before, by reading the requirement first, you will have an idea of what you're looking for as you read through the exhibits. Don't think that you're wasting time. This is a time saver, great time saver. Because you don't have to read the whole question again, right, in full twice. And you can identify which element of the exhibits are relevant for which requirement. Because some exhibit, okay, it's not one-to-one. It's not that this exhibit is only for this requirement. Some exhibits are from 2-3 requirements. It's like that. So that is a key, okay. Third, what you have to do is read the requirement again. Read the requirement, read the scenario, that means your exhibits, and read the requirement again. Why read the requirement again? Most of the people, what they do is they read the requirement, they do step 1 correctly, they do step 2 correctly, and step 3 they forget. They completely forget the importance of step 3. They is like, what? I know the requirement. I have read it. Those people are foolish. The foolish people only will not read requirement again. It's like when you cross a road, you look right, you look left, but you again look right before you cross the road. A wise person, a rational person would do that, right? We are taught to do that. Why? Why are we told to do that? So that we know that we are taking the right decision. We are more careful now. We are more aware. Because when you're looking left, when you're looking right, by the time you look right, you don't know from the left another car might come, right? So same thing when you read the requirement and when you go to the exhibit, by the time you start reading the exhibit, you must have forgotten what is there in your requirements, right? You must be thinking something else, but the requirement is actually something else. Because that exhibit is very big, and due to time pressure in the exam, you might miss the important keywords from that requirement. So it's always advisable, a wise person will always read the requirement again, just to make sure, just to be confirmed that yes, I am right, what I am doing is right, I am leading the correct path. So read the requirement again. We're reminding yourself, right, before actually writing. It will not cost so much of time, maybe a second, maybe 5 seconds, right? This can save you your marks. This can save you a great amount of time later. Because imagine you interpreted your requirement incorrectly. You missed out a word. You wrote your answer nicely. You planned your answer and you wrote, and later you came to know that your answer is not what the requirement was asking you. Even if it's technically correct, the requirement was something else. What can you do that time? You will be cutting again, you are writing, right? So it's a great wastage of time. Read the requirement again. Because this is a paper with plenty of information, it's very easy for you to forget little things here and there. Little small details is very easy for you to forget. Trust me on this. So read the requirement again. And this should become a habit. It's not only in the day in the exam, right? It's not only in the day of your exam that you're reading the requirement again. This should be a habit from day one, from the day you are practicing your SBL, from the day you are doing your mocks, from the day you are doing your past paper. When you're practicing, from that time onwards, this have to be a habit. Because I'm telling you, if this is not a habit, you cannot do it even in your exam day also. That you have to read the requirement again, right? And this comes with repeated practice. Keep repeating this. Because the more you practice this approach, you yourself only will see When you keep writing answers, when you keep reading your requirements again and again, you will see in your answer that there'll be a focus in your answer. There'll be depth in your answer. Your answer will be more relevant, right? Which will help you to gain more marks. Naturally, you are attracting more marks towards you. Naturally, you don't have to do any hard work. Just by practicing this simple step. Now let's go to the step 3. Answer planning. Answer planning is a key to SBL. You cannot bypass this. You cannot bypass this and think that I will just start writing final answer. I'm wasting time here, so I will not plan. No. If you're thinking that you are planning your answer, you're taking more time to plan your answer than writing your answer, and you're wasting time. No. I tell, spend some more time in planning your answer than writing your answer. Because if you take a good portion of your time to plan your answer, I'm telling you that when you write the answer, finally when you're writing the answer, you will be able to write your answer much quicker. You'll be able to write your answer so fast because you already have that plan. You know the logic. There's a sequence in your answer. You know after this, this will come. After this, this will come. Automatically it will come to you. You don't have to think again. You don't have to stop and think. Okay, after writing this paragraph, okay, what should I write next? Most of the time, that's why when you read the paragraphs, of course your answer will be in different paragraphs. When you go to the second paragraph, you will not see a link with the first paragraph. You will see there is no link, there is no connection, there is no sequence which is flowing there. The answer is written as it is, You can see from the way an answer is written whether it's a planned or not, whether it's pre-planned or not, right? If your answer is not pre-planned, the examiner could tell by looking at your answer. Just by looking at your answer, the way it is written. So don't think that you're wasting time by planning your answer. I'm telling you from my own experience and from looking at others, the students who have spent, I will not say spend, it's a wrong word to say, I will say who have invested. It's an investment you are making. Who have invested more time in planning their answer appropriately, they have come up with a better answer. When they are writing their final answer, they didn't spend so much of time. It cost them less time to come with the answer very smoothly, very fluently. It's very fluent. From their writing itself, you can tell that this is an answer, this is how an answer should be. So it comes with practice. You have to plan. So what you have to do for planning? First you have to do is you have to identify the keywords and the mark allocation. There are some keywords that you have to identify in the requirement. And also the mark allocation. I have written there, it's 2 minutes per mark. You can spend even less or you can spend more than this, but make sure you have to complete the whole paper in 4 hours. But what I used was 2 minutes per mark. Why 2 minutes? When you see for other paper, for your SBR, for your tax, for your audit, for your AFM, it is 1.8 minutes per mark. But SBL is 2 minutes per mark because this is 80% your technical marks and 20% your professional marks. That 20% professional marks, we are not allocating extra time for that. Because that professional mark is the way you present your answer, the way you, in a correct format, the way you write your words, your language, your tone. So all this is not, professional skill doesn't mean that you're adding more words. It does not mean that you're writing more. So that's why you don't have to allocate more time. Most of the people, what they do is when they allocate time, they also take the professional skills into account. So no, you don't have to take their professional skills into account. That 20% you don't have to take. That's why this is a great time saver. That's why you can allocate more time for the technical marks, for that 80% only. So that's why I personally prefer, for you it could be less or it could be more than this. The ideal mark, right? The ideal minute per mark is 2 minutes. 2 minutes for 1 mark. So you can divide. So if it's for 10, it's for 10 marks. You have to spend at least 20 minutes, not more than that. That's how you decide your time, right? Always, when you get the paper, for the requirement, when you read the marks are given there, always allocate your time there itself. Write your starting time and write your finishing time. I always used to do that, and let me tell you from my experience, is effective. It's so effective, I'm telling you, because I exactly stick to that plan. If my time is over, means my time is over. I'm not going to spend a second on that. I'm going to go to the next requirement. And I was able to complete my paper, like finish my paper, and I was quite satisfied with my paper. So that writing your marks, writing starting time and finishing time helps a lot. Most of you don't do that, right? Keep a starting and a finishing time for each requirement, because what you do is when you start the paper, you first read the requirements, right? You don't start writing the answer. There itself you can allocate your time based on your number of marks. You can see how many minutes you will need, right? Second, you have to plan your calculations. Plan any calculations, right? Why is this? When you do any calculations also, you have to plan so that you don't jumble up. You don't go in some, you don't have to do all this cut and all. Most of the time, when you have to do any calculation part, most of the people you will be seeing their script, it will be cut, it will be very untidy, because you'll be cutting here, writing some number, cutting here, there, because it's not planned. That is lack of proper planning. You're not planning. Even your calculation, what is my step one? What I should write first? After this, what should be my calculation? It has to be, there should be a plan. Even for the calculation part, not just for the theory part, written part. Step 3, take time to plan in sufficient detail. For example, I have been given a presentation, right? I have to present a few slides, okay? Slides, a presentation to the board members. How will I do that? I should plan what will be my slides, how many slides will be there. For under each slide, how many bullet points will be there? What will be my heading for each slide? What will be my points? Because for presentation, the slide, the points, it's not so lengthy, right? It's very small. Even you can see from my presentation, right now I am presenting to you. I have just written the 3 steps, right? I haven't included any detail. The details I'm speaking, right? But I've only given you the keywords there. For example, step 1, identify keywords. Step 2, plan calculation. Step 3, take time to plan in sufficient detail. That's it. So you have to know what is there to put under each bullet point. You have to do planning. You need that planning, right? It will not happen to you in day one. You need planning. You need practice for this. And making presentation is hardest compared to writing reports or something, because in reports you can write lengthy sentences and all, but not in presentation. You have to summarize it down. You have to keep things relevant to the point, and you only have to write the keywords. It requires a lot of experience. It requires a lot of effort, lot of practice. So you have to plan all this. Just planning that I will make a presentation is not enough. What I should include there? What are the key points that the board of directors needs from me? Right? How can I make my presentation, my slides very attractive, very engaging for my people who are seeing it, people who are going to see that, my audience? All these things you have to keep in mind. You have to plan. And for that also there should be a time, right? So take time to plan in sufficient detail. Now, step 4, efficient numerical analysis. Yes. When you get some numbers, step 1 you have to do is use a standard pro forma working where relevant. Standard pro forma, for example, if you are told to do a balance sheet, you know what is the standard pro forma of balance sheet. Fixed assets comes, then the current assets comes, then the liabilities comes, then the share capital, and all those things comes. You know that, right? When a cash flow is given to you, you know what is the standard pro forma. Cash flow from operating activities, cash flow from investing activities, cash flow from financial activities. You know all those. It's a standard pro forma. You just have to put numbers. Only the numbers will change. But that's the set, right? Standard. So use a standard pro forma working where relevant. Wherever it is relevant, wherever you think you have to use it. Wherever you have to use a formula, you have to use it. Use it. Don't be lazy, thinking that, okay, the examiner will know my numbers and all. No, you have to use it. Suppose sometimes you have to write your answer in a form of a table. You have to. You have to plan. You have to do it. Why you have to do like this? You could do it the way you want, right? Any way you want. You could be free to do any way. Why? Because this will help the marker to understand your working. There will be a sequence in your working. Which will guide the marker to go through, to follow through your workings, so that even if you make a mistake somewhere, they know you will still get marks for your working. Don't try to jump to a final answer. Don't try to do everything on your calculator, all the workings, and just write the final answer. That's not going to help you. You have to write all the workings on your screen. Right? Step 2, show your workings. Yes, it's a key. You have to show your working. And when you show your working, please keep your working very clear, very simple as possible. And also cross-reference this to the main part of your answer. Cross-reference all this. For example, you are taking a growth rate for 5 years of some product, and you have to show workings for the 5 years, how the growth rate is. So when you have to show, and in the final answer, in the final report, you are just showing that for over the 5 years, this product, for example, let's say the growth rate is 5%. How that 5% came? You can just write working 1, C working 1. You have to refer like this. There should be a cross reference with your working and the main answer, which is presented in your report or memo or presentation, whatever it is, right? So cross reference always your working, because this will help tell the examiner where your working has been used exactly, how you got that. They want to see the detailed working, they can go back to your working and check it out, right? So this will also help you, because if there's a mistake made anywhere, either there could be a mistake in your working, or there could be a mistake in your final answer which you wrote in your report. At least the examiner knows that you have workings, so you are not going to lose marks 2 times. Based on your workings, if you provide some answer and based on that you are recommending something, you will not lose your marks twice. You will only lose your mark once for that incorrect calculation. That's it. But based on that calculation, if you are recommending something, if you are suggesting someone, you are not losing the mark the second time for recommending someone based on that calculation. You are only losing marks once for that incorrect calculation. That's it. So that is the one big advantage for you for showing your working. Step 3, keep moving. I know this is very hard, most of the people, because they don't want to leave till the end. They want to fight for that. They are like, I don't want to leave this. I want to finish. I have to finish this requirement. But what happens is we plan everything and go to that exam, but everything doesn't happen according to us. Sometimes it happens that we are not able to finish something. We are stuck in one thing and we are always stuck in that thing only. We are not able to move forward. So please, you have to. We are so tempted, we have to finish this, and we waste considerable amount of time. waste so much of time in that one requirement that we don't go forward, where we could get more marks by doing. So don't do that. You have to keep moving, because under the exam situation, it's very difficult. Not very difficult, it's almost impossible that you are 100% correct, especially with numbers. So don't try to be perfect. I'm telling you this. Don't try to be perfect in the exam condition. You just have to finish all your requirements. That's it. You don't have to spend too long on any one single calculation. Don't spend. What you have to do if you're struggling with a solution, right? On the numeric part, on the number part, if you're struggling with a solution, then make a sensible assumption. Just make a sensible assumption, state it and move on. That's it. You can say I assume, right? Based on this, it is assumed that this. Whatever you're working, wherever you stop there. Make some assumption, go ahead. That's it. Don't stay there. And when you are using your number, right? Efficient numerical analysis means you are providing sufficient numerical evidence to support your written arguments, because based on your numbers only you are going to write, right? So there have to be a connection, right? There have to be some link with your calculation and what you have written. It cannot be two different things. Suppose your calculation is saying something else and you're writing something else which is not matching with your calculation, then it's not going to work. There have to be a connection, a positive correlation between what your number is presenting and what arguments you are presenting, how you are going to evaluate there, how you are giving the conclusion, how you are recommending it, right? So numerical work, just because you have to present some numbers, don't think that you don't have to present effectively, you don't have to write effectively. No, you have to still present effectively and you have to write. Now let's go to step 5, effective writing and presentation. Key to pass SBL, effective writing and presentation. My dear, I don't know how people can even let this simply go off without thinking too much about it. They just don't think too much about this part. This is a professional paper, not just SBL. Take out any professional paper, take out any ACCA paper. The key is effective writing and presentation. How you present, how you are writing your report. Are you presenting in a professional tone? Right? So, first step, use subheading. Subheadings makes work easier because your subheading will tell you what is there in your content. When you read something, for example, you read a report, take any annual report of a company and just start reading it. Do you see subheadings? You will see there are lots of subheadings. Why is that subheading is given? Because to make it easy for the reader to go directly, they can go to the relevant section, whatever is of interest to them, and they can just go and read that part, right? For example, auditor's report. If they want to go to auditor's report, simply they can go. Imagine there was no subheading given. How will you know? You have to keep reading all and then you have to find out where the auditor report is, right? Imagine that thing. So when you read something, how will you want to read an annual report, a financial report where there is no subheading? You ask that question from yourself. So when you are writing something, how do you expect for your examiner, if you're not using subheading, to understand what you have written? That subheading is a guide. It will guide them that yes, under this subheading this is written, because even if you miss out on the detail, you are not able to explain in detail. any point. At least by seeing a subheading, they will give you some marks. At least by seeing the subheading. Right? So please use subheading and take this very seriously. And how do you use subheading? Directly you can take from your answer plan. You must have planned your answer that this is how I'm going to write. For example, I'm writing a report. Under this report, I'm going to talk about 5 points. That means I'm going to write 5 subheadings. Under 5 subheadings, these points will be described, right? Isn't it easy? Rather than writing all the 5 points under one paragraph, how can the reader, how can the examiner differentiate which point is for which one? Like how many points are there if there is no subheading, right? So when you use subheadings, it makes it easier for the marker to understand that you are making different points. Don't beat, right? Don't beat around the bush. Don't keep making the same points in different bullet points by using different subheadings and explain it the same point only. Don't do that. Use different subheadings and explain your points different. Each point should be different. They should not be repetitive. Second, write your answer in short and punchy sentences. This is what most of the people go wrong. They try to write all these complex words, lengthy sentences. They think that using all these complex words will impress the examiner. Don't. No one wants that, right? You have to finish your paper in the 4 hour. So, keep your answer short and punchy. That means just few words in a sentence so that the examiner knows what are you talking exactly about. You don't have to write a lengthy sentences, right? Next, extend your points with depth. Yes, when you use your subheading, now you have to extend your point. Why you have to extend your point? Because when you make some point, you should not leave the marker or the examiner in a position asking why or so what. Like, why is this point here? Why is this point relevant here? What is it for? The examiner should not ask you all these questions. They should not be in a position thinking why this point is there. You should explain them. What is the relevance of that point in this situation? How it's going to help a problem, an issue, right? So you have to explain that point when you make some point. Use short sentences. If you can explain briefly in one sentence, fantastic, even better. And then you have to explain. If you are writing 2-3 sentences, you have to explain in the next one why it matters, why something matters in the first place before you go to the second point, right? For example, if you want to show the depth of your answer, right, why some point is relevant, you could say the consequences of that, consequences of making a decision. For example, some company wants to take over another company. For example, there's a scenario like that. Then you can say what will be the consequences of taking over that company versus what the consequences of not taking over that company for your organization, for the organization in the company, in the question, right, in the future. So something like that. That is known as extend your points with depth. Now, the last exam success skill is your good time management. Usually, compared to other exam, in SBL, the time management is better because first of all, we are getting 2 minutes per mark, and second, it's just 80 technical marks versus other paper where it is 100, because we are having 20 professional skills. So because of that professional skill, that's helping you to get even better marks. If you focus on your professional skills, don't just focus only on your technical skills, also focus on your professional skills. How you're writing, are you writing in a correct tone, are you writing in a correct format? So good time management. First, stick to the mark and the time allocation. If you have to write an answer in 10 minutes, means 10 minutes, not 11 minutes. Step 2, follow your answer plan. You must have some plan and you have to follow that answer plan. But in most of the cases, what happens is you might have to change your answer plan because maybe you have wasted or maybe you have spent more time in some requirement than you have planned. So when you come to the next requirement, you have to reduce your time there because you have already spent more time in some requirement, right? So based on that, your answer plan also will have to be changed, right? Next, keep an eye on the clock. Yes, you have to try to attempt all the requirements, but you also have to be ready to be ruthless and move on if your answer is not going as planned. And this is a challenge. I'm telling you, this is a challenge because many of you are not able to stick to the planned timings. You spend more than the planned timing. I will not say less, but more. And remember one thing, both ways is harmful. Spending more time also, spending too less time also, because if you're spending too less time on writing a requirement, that means you're not writing all the appropriate points. So make sure the time which you set for the requirements is reasonable time, a time where you will be able to write. Not, it should not be too less. It should not be something like half a minute per mark or 1 minute per mark. It could be 1.5, 1.8 or 2. For me, 2 is an ideal time for SBL. So you can choose according to your own wish, right? But it should be something reasonable. It should not be too less. It should not be too much. Because most of the people, they think as if they spend too little, like 1 minute per mark, they'll be able to save time, which is not, because they they are not making appropriate points. They are just somehow writing, finishing and going, moving ahead, which is also not good. So don't do that mistake also. Okay. And also sticking to the planned timing. By the way, I'm done for today with this video. So just some more advice, that when you are in the early stages of your studies, it's very difficult for you to stick to your planned timing. So through practicing more mocks from the revision kit, you will be able to overcome this, how to stick to the planned timing. I know it's very hard, but with practice you'll be able to do that, right? It needs time, so give it a time, right? And one last tip, one last point, if you're running out of time, if you're running short on time for some requirements, most of the time it is seen that usually in the first few requirements, the candidate or the student writes very nicely, very to the point and all, but when they come towards the end, you can see that rush of time, the handwriting changes, they are not able to write in full. This, some of them, they just leave it empty, leave it blank, they don't even attempt because of the lack of time. So don't keep anything unattempted, right? Do attempt each requirement. Even if you're not able to write in full, at least write 1 or 2 sentences, whatever your time permits you to do, please, but do it, right? You will not be able to write a full answer, but at least you can write in an overview form, like a summary form. You can write, summarize everything and just write the key terms, right? Still you will get some marks, for just writing the keywords. For example, you can just write your conclusion, just state the conclusion, even if you don't have time to justify in full, right? But don't leave anything empty, don't leave anything incomplete, right? Because examiner cannot give you marks if you haven't written anything. The examiner can only give you marks if you have written something for your written work. So if you haven't written anything, how will the examiner know that, you know? So don't do something which works against for you. Do something which works for you. So write something at least if you're not able to finish on time. Because what I feel from all the paper, SBL is the only paper which I felt is not a time pressurized paper. Is not at all a time pressurized paper compared to the other papers which I have attempted, because we get lot of time. We get 1 whole hour for planning and all. You might think 4 hours too big when you see, but time just runs like that. When you go and sit for that exam, your time will just go off. So plan your 1 hour properly and save your 3 hour. That is my goal. It was my goal. Now it should be your goal too. Plan your 1 hour properly, save your 3 hour. Because first 1 hour you do the hard working, you do all the hustle, you plan. It takes so much of effort and time, but once you are done with it, you are on the track. The 3 hour you just write, because everything is there, everything is pre-planned, everything is planned. You just write according to the plan. That's it. No hard work is required in the next 3 hours. The next 3 hours is just you have to write and stick to your time. That's it. So that's it. All these are the 6 exam success skills. Let me summarize what I've discussed today. The first was managing information, vast amount of information. Read your background first, then your requirements, then your scenario, then your exhibits. Success skill 2, correct interpretation of requirement. First, read the requirement. Second, read the case study, the exhibits. Third, read the requirement again. Exam success skills 3, answer planning. You have to identify the keyword and the mark allocation. You have to plan any calculations, and also you have to take time to plan in sufficient detail. Exam success skill 4 is efficient numerical analysis. Use a standard pro forma or uh, show workings wherever it is required. Second, show your workings and do the cross reference to your main answer. And third, keep moving. And the fifth, effective writing and presentation. Use subheadings. Write your answer in short and punchy sentences. Third, extend your points with depth. And the last but not the least is a good time management. Stick to the mark, follow your answer plan, keep an eye on the clock. So this were the exam success skills. I hope when you follow this, if you follow this, you will definitely pass SBL. Meanwhile, don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you're watching my channel for the first time. And you can connect with me. You can send me a message. I will follow up on your message through my Facebook, through my Instagram, through my LinkedIn. And till then, see you. Take care.